What is up, guys, and welcome to the first ever episode of the Work Towards Wonder podcast. Let's go. Guys, we are so excited today. I have my first guest, my best friend, Morgan.
Hi.
And we're just going to hop right into it. So for the first question on every podcast, I'm going to ask every guest is, what does wonder mean to you?
Wonder means basically like in awe of God. I just want to know more and more about him, and basically just deepen my relationship with him. I mean, I just wonder all the time how good he is and how big our God is.
That's
and
awesome.
What he can do.
Yeah. And the cool thing about wonder is like questioning the Lord and like seeing like the good, and he invites us to ask questions. And so that's what's so cool about like working toward wonder is getting to question the Lord, and he has answers too, and we get those answers. So that's awesome. All right, so today we are going to go and look into Morgan's testimony. So she's going to start us off with that.
Yeah, so I have a pretty big one, I'll tell you that. I was diagnosed with a nerve condition when I was 14 called CRPS, and it kind of just goes off and on based on injury. It can kind of just overreact. And so on November 9th of 2022, I was weightlifting in the gym, and we were doing reps of 10 on squat.
Those are brutal.
They are terrible.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure I was like on rep 8, rep 9, and my knee just gave out on the way down, and I dropped, and I was like, what was that? I was like, what is going on? And I was like, that kind of hurt.
Yeah.
I was a little scared because, you know, weightlifting is like my passion. It's my getaway. It's my getaway from some other sports, from like family stuff, just to get my mind at ease.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really can't have this taken away from me. And so I finished my workout. I tried to, and after a couple very, very painful box jumps of my knee giving in, I was like, okay, I got to be done. I've got to be done. And so as I was walking off, like my knee was so weird, it would like just shift in and shift in and shift in. And it's like the muscles in my thigh just weren't working. They weren't making the connection to my brain. And so I was getting really freaked out.
Yeah.
And it didn't hurt as bad as first, which I was probably in a little bit of a shock. But as a couple of days went by, I was like getting more and more pain. And then that nerve condition just clicked in.
Yeah.
And I was going on crutches, just in so much pain, and I didn't know what was going on. And so we kind of finally went to my doctor that we usually go to for everything, and he was like, yeah, your nerve condition kicked back in. He's like, I don't really see much like hard damage to the knee, but your nerves are just going crazy.
Yeah.
Is basically what it is. It's insane.
Yeah. It's crazy.
He sent me to my physical therapist, and we tried working, and a month or so went by, and there was no change except for it getting worse.
Yeah.
And he kept prescribing me some new medications just for pain, and so I could sleep at night because there was no way I was getting any sleep.
Yeah.
That thing. I mean, you brush a tissue over my leg, and it's like you're stabbing me with knives.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And then he was like, okay, I'm just going to refer you to a children's orthopedic doctor. And so we went up there, and he was right near my old doctor. So it was kind of nice, but he said, in my 40 years of practice, I have never seen a combination this bad.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's like, I've never seen it. And he was about to retire in a couple months.
Yeah, he's been at it a while.
And he's like, sometimes I usually see this in elderly, patients.
Yeah.
Just because it can be very severe because they don't have a lot of strength to move. He's like, I never see this in young teens, and especially in young athletes. Yeah. Just because we're on the move
moving
so
all the
much.
time. Yeah.
And so he didn't know quite what to do except for prescribe more medication, get me more physical therapy. And I was just in a loss of hope. I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah. That's so hard. Like when I think about things that like I've been through, some things that other people might have been through, like that point of hopelessness is the worst.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting here and you just keep reminding yourself like God is good and God is faithful. But I feel like there's a point in life where you start to question, is God good and is God faithful? Like I'm sitting here, I've been going at this for a month, and like all these things, and it's like I'm in pain and I'm hurting, and the Lord is like feels like he's not there, and I'm just hopeless. And that's like the worst, being in that hopeless point. And so like as you keep going, we kind of see like it doesn't get better. No. Like it's been a month and it's not getting better, and you're still like, we were praying and we were like encouraging you, and we were getting in the word, and we were calling on God and doing all these things, and it just was not getting better, and it felt like it was getting worse. And that's just like in life, when things, we just keep going and it keeps getting worse and worse. You're like, what do we do? And that's where you were kind of at, like this point of like hopelessness, and that's hard. Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, I was pretty close to rock bottom, and how I described it to some people was that I was in this deep, dark pit. Yeah, and I had all these pieces to build a ladder. Yeah, but I didn't have the instructions. Yeah, and I didn't have the manual to tell me what to do on how to get out, how to build this ladder to get out of this deep, dark hole. Yeah, and I was just trying to like ask God, like, what do I do? How am I supposed to go through this? Yeah. And he's just looking down at me like, you just wait. Yeah. You just wait.
You just wait. Yeah. And like, we have all these pieces. Like, we have our friends and family, and we have our Bible, and we have the church, and we have prayer. And we are using our pieces, and we are waiting and calling on the instructor. Yeah. And the crazy thing is that like, sometimes we think we know what's best. Like, we need to be healed now. We need everything now. It to be done now. And you're calling on the instructor, like, what's next? Yeah. Like, I'm ready, and you think you're ready, but maybe you're not. Yeah. Maybe you're like, it needs to settle. Like, there's things that need to be settled. Like, I know when you build a house, there's time. You have to wait. Yeah. You have to let the concrete set, and you have to let these things happen. And it feels like a long, long time, but the instructor knows everything. Mm-hmm. And so the Lord knows it all. And so we are just sitting here waiting for him. And the point of waiting is hard. And we have to be able to determine the difference between feeling hopeless and living in the waiting. And I think that's kind of where we were at here. Like, I feel hopeless, but also God is good, so I'm in the waiting. And that's like the hardest part, the point between what God promised and when you see the fruition of it. God promises to heal you. By his stripes you are healed, but here I am hurting, and I'm waiting to see his promise. Yeah, and that's like we find ourselves there a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was so hard. It was so hard. And just kind of going through everyday life, trying to go through school with the medication side effects of just headaches and headaches and just trying to sleep. I mean, they talk about sleep being so important, and you really don't realize it until you don't get any sleep. And so I was just stuck there at a point where I'm like, God, please just do something. I was like, I'm so over this. And my orthopedic doctor was sending me to a neuromuscular children's doctor in St. Louis that would hopefully give us, better answers. Mm-hmm. They would have the better resources. And so we were waiting on that. But I was just in so much pain, and I was in like a knee brace from mid thigh to mid calf. It was very decent.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah,
knee brace. And so I had finally gone through enough physical therapy to strengthen the back of my quad to where I could maybe keep my legs straight. Mm-hmm. And so I took the risk on taking the crutches off and trying to keep it moving, because the best thing for this nerve condition is to just keep moving. Yeah. Keep moving. You've got to keep moving. You can't stay still. Yeah. Or the nerves are just going to end up
That'll preach though. Oh yeah. Like in life, when you have all this going on and you're like, I just got to keep going. I just think of like Dorothy, when she's like, just keep swimming, like, just keep swimming, just keep going, like, you're gonna get there, just keep swimming, just keep going, and don't give up. Because we talk about when you give up on your faith and you stop working, it's gonna die. And you never want to get to that point where you're so hopeless that you give up and then your faith dies. That's when you know there's no turning back, when you allow your faith to die and you give up. So that's like, you kept going, and that's what's so amazing.
Oh yeah, I never wanted to stop. I knew that God had a greater story coming for me, and I was just ready to be able to share it.
Yeah, and that's the mindset you have to have. Like, I have to know God works everything for good, so I have to keep going. Can't stop, keep going. Yeah.
And I was at a point of just looking for anything. I was looking for anything. Mm-hmm. And finally, my grandpa had talked to my mom and was like, hey, there's this church in Ozark, Springfield, everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's called James River, and they basically have these prayer services on Wednesday nights, and they ask for anybody that came out of town or anybody that just came in general to step out of the aisle for healing. and they had been having an outbreak in sports injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And he had told my mom, and he's like, I just feel like you need to take her there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like God's telling you need to take her.
Yeah.
And so we finally found a Wednesday night where it worked out, and we headed up there. And I mean, this church is huge.
Yes, very, very big.
Massive.
Yeah.
And so I was already getting worked up. Of course, I'm around people I don't even know. I have no idea who they are. I've never seen them before. And it was just this brand new experience. And walking in to the sanctuary itself is breathtaking.
Yeah.
The chills over my body.
Yeah.
And just the presence of the Lord.
Yeah.
Is there.
Yeah.
Like, He's there once you just step foot.
Yeah.
It is so powerful.
God is with you everywhere,
yes.
But when believers get together,
yes.
When 2 or more gather there, He will be.
And according to His river, it's 2 or
2,000s together, and there the Lord is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's just so powerful how the praise is there, and just how the presence is just so powerful. And it finally came time to step out of the aisle, and I was very nervous. I was to the point where I was like, well, He's going to heal me or He's not.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, I'm just there.
But you stepped out in faith.
I stepped out.
We stepped out in faith. Yeah, that's good.
And I was like, okay, well, let's hope, let's cross our fingers, pray about this.
Yeah.
And see how this goes. Well, I stepped out, and 20, 30 people came around me, and they kind of asked what was going on. I told them about my knee, told them about kind of the struggle I was going through, and they laid their hands on me. They prayed for me. And of course, I was crying just because I was just so worked up. I was so overwhelmed of everything around me. And when the prayer stopped, I was like, nothing happened.
Yeah.
I was just at the point of just, what?
It's got to be so heartbreaking. You drive an hour and a half, you step out in the aisle boldly, and people are gathering around you, and we're believing in faith, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
I just imagine, we do all of this stuff, and nothing happens. And where were you at, faith-wise? Were you discouraged, or were you I'm going to keep going?
I was very discouraged.
Yeah.
I was at a point of just, why?
Yeah.
I was why?
That's a huge question. And God lets us ask these questions. He wants us to ask questions.
Yeah.
Why, God? And He will give you an answer. It will take time, but your answer will come.
Yeah.
So we are at this point, and you're like, God, why? There are so many people praying and interceding on your behalf for your healing, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. That's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's been months.
Yeah.
I mean, it started in November, and it's end of February, and I'm just at a point of just loss. I just don't know what to do, and I'm like, why would this happen to my family in general? Why my family?
Yeah.
Because it was a year or two after they found out about Mom's diagnosis. It's hard.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, if that didn't work, I don't know what will.
Yeah.
And just something came over me, just don't give up.
Don't give up. That's such a good, yes.
He said, don't stop. He's like, that was one time. He said, but you weren't ready.
Yeah.
He's like, I just wasn't open enough.
Yeah.
I wasn't open enough to step out, just
full of faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Truly full of faith. And I just wasn't ready. And He's like, you've got to open up.
Yeah.
You've got to open up to me, and you've got to surrender it all.
Yeah.
And so we went a couple weeks later, and after this, a couple weeks was a long time.
A long time, yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it was March 1st, so it was, a little bit chilly, and I was in my shorts.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't really do pants.
Nope.
Those hurt pretty bad. And by this time, I was also wearing an ankle brace because of just the way my knee was moving. And it also shifted my hip. It shifted my ankle. It shifted my knee. There's pictures and stuff of just, you can see my kneecap just to the inside of my leg.
Yeah.
Because of how
your movement was.
Movement was.
That's crazy.
And it was just ice cold. So there was no point in even being cold outside.
Yeah, if your leg was ice cold. Yeah.
So cold.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd take it to, my physical therapist would take a little hover thermometer to it, and she'd go below my knee, and it wouldn't even register.
Yeah.
And we looked at the packaging, and it said it wouldn't register with anything below 96 degrees, 97 degrees. And we're like,
that's not normal, especially after trying to work out, like, movement. That's,
And then we measured to like mid thigh, and it was like 97, 98.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, well, at least it's not spreading
Traveling,
up here, but we still need to get that figured out.
Yeah.
And so we went back to James River a couple weeks later, and I was just full faith.
Yeah. But you went back.
I went back.
That's the crazy thing. Like, I feel like sometimes we call him a Lord and then we give up. Or it's like, we're done. But when you think about when you're, like, if I do like a sports practice or something, like, you go and you fail and you try again.
Yeah.
And not saying that you failed, you just weren't ready. And the Lord, his timing is perfect. And so when you weren't ready, you went back.
Yeah.
You didn't quit and you didn't give up. And that's the thing about faith is you can't quit and you can't give up. Because it will come to pass. It just takes time.
Yeah. And so I went back, and this was even after our church, they gathered around me. I think it was before church or after church. And they anointed me with oil, and they surrounded me, and the men of the church, they prayed and they prayed. And so I was like, okay, I've got to build my faith. I've got to go back. And we showed up. I walked in, and you can just feel the tears just welling up. Because he's just so good there.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And the moment the pastor's daughter, she was like, okay, if there was anybody that came out of town who needed healing, please step out of the aisle. And so I stepped out, and I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm like, I want to get this over with. I am done with this. And a lady aisles and aisles up. I mean, there was somebody standing like not 2 aisles from her before, and she turned around and she looked at me, and she was the first one to me, and there were people, right beside me. And she asked me, she's like, hey, what's going on? Like, what do you need? And I was like, well, I was diagnosed with a nerve condition at 14, and I had this injury come up, and it flared up again. And it's the worst it's ever been, and I don't know what to do. And I've been on this journey for over 3 months, and I'm just so done with this. And so she's like, okay, well, we're going to pray for you. And she took oil out of her bag. She anointed my forehead, and she said, your pain will be gone. Your sorrow will be gone. Your leg will be healed. In the name of Jesus.
The power of will. It's not might. The God is not a might God. He is an I will God. So like speaking in faith, it will be done, because it will. Because when that little seed of doubt, when you let that get planted, it will take over, and it will grow like roots. It will grow like weeds, and you have to be He is an I will God.
And she went down and she anointed my knee, and there's like a little slit in the back of the knee brace where you can kind of get skin. And so she went back there and she anointed it back there. And as she was praying, and she was just praying, she's like, you will walk again. You will walk normal again. And she got back there, and I just felt the weirdest things in my knee. I said, it was almost like, it was just like a grip. It was a grip on my muscles in my knee, and on the back of it, it just felt like it was moving. And I could almost like flex my leg, which I hadn't been able to do in months. And so I was just kind of like in a shock, and I was just shaking, and I was tearing up, and I was crying. And she came back up, and she's like, how's the pain? And I said, it's almost gone. And she looked me dead in the eyes, and she said, well, God does things 100%.
Yes, amen.
And she said 100%. And she went back to the oil, anointed my forehead, and she prayed, and she's like, you will be healed 100%. And then she stepped back, amen. And she's like, how's it now? And I turned to my mom, and I said, Mom, I can flex my leg.
And it was gone.
Like tears just streamed down on my parents' face, and we hugged it out. And I was just in awe. I was like, I'm so ready for this. I was so ready for this. I'm so happy. It was just an unending joy. And I was like praising God, and she looked at me. She's like, are you comfortable enough to take off your knee brace and walk? And I was like, comfortable? Maybe. Scared?
Yes.
I mean, I had lost over 12 pounds of muscle in my leg, and I called it my little purple chicken leg. It was purple. It was tiny. It was very well tinier than this one. And I was like, you know what? I said, I believe that I am 100% healed. And so I took off my knee brace, and I walked down the aisle normally, no shifting in at all, just like I'd never had that happen before. So I took off my knee brace, and I was like, I'm ready. And I walked down the aisle normally for the first time in 4 months. And I was just so happy.
Yeah.
And I turned to my parents, and I just cried and cried and cried. And I walked up and down that aisle just in shock.
Yeah.
And like knowing this, I still had my ankle brace on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really even notice.
Yeah.
And so as we were standing there praising God and doing praise and worship, a guy from across the aisle came up to me and he said, God wanted me to tell you that you are completely healed and you can take off your ankle brace as well. And I said, okay. And so I took that off. I walked in there with 2 braces on, and I walked out there carrying those, not wearing them at all.
That's so crazy.
And I was just like, man, I was like, now my legs are actually cold.
Yeah.
So I think I need to put some pants on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about like the story when Jesus heals the paralyzed man who can't walk, and he's like, take up your mat. And this man has never walked in his life.
Yeah.
And here he is, the thing that he sat on his whole life that was like, that made him a paralyzed man, this mat. Jesus like, take up that and walk, like go. And that's like what you did. You took your brace and you went. Like you went and walked, and you had so much faith. Like your little faith is what got you like to be able to walk again. That's just so amazing. That's good.
It was so amazing. And I think the next challenge we had to face was telling the doctors. And knowing how most doctors are, they're just like, well, let's look at it the medical side. We're not going to look at it as the Christian side, We're just going to go off of this was just, just some medical miracle. And I had to go in there and just know that God was going to tell my story.
Through you.
And walked into my first doctor, and he 100% believed me. He was like, praise God.
That's
because
awesome.
He's a Christian as well. And so that was one doctor down. And so we went to the next one. This next one we were a little more skeptical about. He looked at us and he was like, I go to James River. And he's like, and I sat there on a Sunday morning and I listened to the preacher give a praise report about a 16-year-old girl. And I turned to my wife and I said, that's my patient.
That's
and he's
good.
like, I 100% believe. And he warned us. He's like, now all your struggles that you went through, he's like, don't forget about those. But you have to take them, and you have to take them to the St. Louis doctor, and they're going to be a little tougher. Because, just up there, it's just a little harder in a bigger city, a huge hospital. And so we were a little bit nervous about that.
But like you were nervous, but you still did. Like it's okay, like to feel feelings. It's okay to feel nervous. It's okay to feel scared, but it's what you do with that. Like you didn't allow your nervous feelings to stop you from sharing the goodness of God. And when you think about all this pain you went through, and God turned it for good. And like looking back now, you're like, yeah, God turned it for good. But in the middle, it didn't feel good. Like in the middle for this 3 months, nothing felt good. But then God uses it for His good. We are simply His vessels that He shines through us. And so God used your bad and turned it for good. And that was just like, it's so encouraging today. Like anything I go through that's hard, God turns for good. And so now when I'm sitting in my problem and I'm like, this sucks. But I'm like, but God has something better out of this. That's good.
So good. And I don't remember one doctor's appointment that I went to through all of this that I didn't end up just crying of just helplessness. Because it was just gut punch after gut punch. They had every single negative thing to say. And I just needed a little bit of positivity in my life. But I knew the only way I was going to get that was through Jesus.
Because the world is naysayers. And I feel like the world has a hard time understanding our faith and our hope. Like if you don't know Jesus, it doesn't make sense. Like how can you be so joyful and have so much like joy and positivity when your life is crap and what you're going through sucks? And you're like, Jesus, and people are like, no, that's not real. But you're like, yes, it is. And it's hard when so many times you have so many people speaking negativity in your life and not even meaning to. Your doctors are like, we don't know what to do. And they're not trying to be negative, but like, that's just a reality. Like humans don't know the answers. And so you have to be like, God, all these people are telling me that they don't know, but you know. And I have to just understand that He knows.
And I was just firm believing that when we go up to St. Louis, that I was going to share my story, and knowing that one more person was going to be able to hear it.
Amen. Yes.
And we traveled up, barely made it. I mean, it was by God that we made it up there somewhat on time. We got stuck in an accident, and so we were, stuck in traffic, and we were just delayed. And trying to find the doctor's office in a huge city,
it's not easy.
Not easy at all. It is terrible. And we definitely didn't make it on time for my appointment. But it was by God that the appointment after me canceled.
That's crazy.
And she said that if she doesn't come in by this time, then we're going to have to see her. We made it in there like minutes before the end of my appointment. And so I went on back. I walked into that doctor's office, and she looked at me without, I didn't even say anything. I just walked in the door. And she said, "You have such a glow around you, such a light." She's like, "You have a story to tell."
Yeah, what a compliment.
And so I just sat down, and I was tearing up, and she was like crying by the end of it while I was telling her my story. And I was showing her different videos and everything. She's like, "This is just a God thing."
Yeah.
And she asked me, she's like, "Can I tell my friends and family about this?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
I said, "Yes."
Yeah.
It's like, this is what it's here for. God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers.
Yeah.
And so being able to be one of those it just gives me such passion to go on and share it.
Yeah.
It's like he chose me to fight this battle and to share my story. That way more people can
learn about Jesus. Yes. Yeah, because you're like, here's Morgan, and Morgan, her struggles, no problems. Morgan gets healed by the power of the Lord, and now Morgan tells her doctors, and her doctors tell her friends and family, and everyone at James River sees this amazing healing. And here is one person who went through a really hard time, and now so many people can hear about the goodness of God. And that's so amazing. Like, no struggle you go through is not worth it.
Yeah.
Because you may have been the reason that somebody gets to go to heaven.
Yeah.
And that just has to bring you some peace inside.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all of this was so one person could go to heaven, and it makes it worth it.
Yeah. And I was so happy.
Yeah.
I was so happy.
Yeah.
And it just filled me inside, just knowing how good our God is.
Yeah.
How good is he that he chooses these things, but always knows, and he looks down on it. He's like, "You just wait. You just wait. Your story will come.
Yeah.
Your story will come. It will be it's on my timing."
Yeah.
It's like, don't worry about today. Don't worry about tomorrow. You worry about just next step after next step. I will guide you through.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I want to go back to the St. Louis doctor. So you went in and you were nervous and you were expecting it to be like this really hard thing.
Yeah.
And you were running late, and so you have all this stress. Yeah. And then God opens the door. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't even have to come up with a conversation. Like, she was like, "Look at this glow." Like, first of all, what a compliment. Yeah. Like, if someone says, "I see Jesus in you," I'm like, biggest compliment ever. But anyways, she opens the door and for your story and how God is working through even her to give it more ease for you to tell your story. Yeah. And how God is a God of details. Yeah. Like, I'm going to say that again. The God is a God of details. Like, he heals completely and fully. He gives you a path to tell people his story. He's a God of details. He doesn't do things halfway. He doesn't not think about things. He knows every answer and every detail, and it's all worked out in a perfect plan. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you see me now, like, you wouldn't even believe. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. Yeah. I mean, I lost the 12 pounds and I had this tiny little leg. Yeah. But building it back up was just the funnest part. Yeah. It was so amazing to me how I could go from so weak to just so strong in his glory. Yeah. I've never jumped higher. Yeah. I've never ran faster. Yeah. I've never lifted more. Like, I just feel so good. I feel so good. And playing sports and everything is just back in my passion. Yeah, and now you're having a scholarship to go play volleyball in college. Yeah. Like, how do you go from, without the Lord, how do you go from, I can't even walk on my own, to now I'm going to play college volleyball? Like, nothing but the Lord. Yeah. Like, there's no other option but the Lord. And that's just so amazing. Like, the Lord cares for you so much. Yeah. In this ginormous world, God cares for you so much. Yeah. And that's just what, guys, I want to tell you today. The Lord cares for you, and that it may seem like life is crazy and there's so many things going around, but he cares for you. And he still does miracles. Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, look at her. Like, look at her. She looks great, and she's going to play volleyball, like all these things. And today, like, people don't believe that God still does miracles. But God is the same yesterday including the Bible, today, which is today, and tomorrow, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
He is the same. He doesn't change. He still does miracles. Jesus, when he walked the earth, did miracles, and Jesus now does miracles.
Yeah.
Like, don't doubt the Lord. Don't doubt the Lord, because he does miracles still today.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
So don't miss out on your miracle.
Oh my gosh, no.
Like,
no, you've got to take it with a passion.
Yeah.
Like, you know that what you're going through will be tested.
Yeah.
And what you're going through, a test turns into a testimony.
Amen.
A mess turns into a message.
Yes.
Thank you, Rachel, for giving me that.
Yes.
She's so sweet.
Yes.
But I mean, it's just what you're going through. It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it through God. It's worth it.
Yeah.
He's trying to use you to tell a story, because I mean, the world out there now has changed so much, and we need God more than ever.
Then we need light.
Yeah.
And what a better light than you guys?
Yeah.
What a better light than you who walk the hallways.
Yeah.
And you're like, look what the Lord did.
Yeah.
Like, here we are, like, look what the Lord did, and here we are, like, he's good.
He's so good.
He's good, and he's using us to tell the world. Like, doesn't it make you feel so excited? Like, I get to be a light.
Yeah.
Like, I get to have a purpose in this world, and so many people are trying to find a purpose in the mess that they're in.
Yeah.
Your purpose is to be a light for the Lord.
Yeah.
And you get to be that because he works through you. Through all your mess, through all your problems, he works through you.
Yeah.
And he does miracles. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Guys, we are so blessed to have him working on the podcast, but also just so blessed that we have the Lord.
Yeah.
And all the amazing things he does. So before we end the podcast, I have some fun questions that I'm going to end every podcast with. First one is favorite worship song. So hard.
It is so
There's
hard.
so many.
There's so many out there.
And I'm talking like worship song, like guys, rap is worship too. Love me a good like Zonti, Andy Mineo. But also you have like your Bethel and Elevation.
Yes.
So if you had to pick all Christian music, what are you going to pick?
It would have to be Make Room.
That's a good one.
It's such a powerful song.
Yeah.
And no matter when I listen to it, where I'm at, I just get the presence of him just over me.
Yeah.
Just singing, I could just sing that song
Yeah.
forever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you're saying, like, make room in me for you.
Yeah, and it's like, a good declaration.
I will make room, yes.
Yeah.
I will do whatever you want me to do because I just need you so much.
Yeah, it's a great reminder. Yeah, good. That's a good one. Guys, we're going to make a Work Toward Wonder Spotify playlist. So this will be the first one on there, and I will link that below. But every guest we have, we'll add their song in, and then we'll have this playlist about all worship music. Awesome. Next question, favorite ice cream flavor.
Okay.
There's so many.
So many out there. It would have to be like a fudge brownie.
Okay.
Ice cream, but with strawberries.
With strawberries. Okay, you got the chocolate and the fruit. I'm a sucker for a chocolate and a fruit.
Yes, I love chocolate strawberries. They're my
So we're talking chocolate ice cream, fudge brownies, strawberries.
Yes.
Ooh,
all mixed in
so
there.
good. Yes.
All mixed in there. So good.
Yes. Okay, that's good. Next one. This one's hard. Go-to outfit. So we're going to the mall. What's your go-to outfit?
So obviously probably yours and mine are a little bit
different. I got the hot pink. Yeah.
If you can't tell, we're a little bit different on the color.
Yeah, we got like black and neutrals, and then we have everything rainbow, which is good. It's okay. Yeah.
I was like, I gotta wear something colorful, and I looked in my closet, and I was like,
nothing. We got a little color. We got a little color. There we go.
So yes. That works. This is the most colorful thing I can have. But it would probably have to be like sweatpants and a t-shirt with like a jacket.
Yeah. So we're talking like
shoes. I'm comfortable.
Yeah, sweatpants. Are we talking like the wide leg sweatpants? Or are we doing like the joggers, the cuff, pockets, no pockets?
Oh, pockets.
100% pockets. Okay, 100%. That's always pockets is what I was going to say. Pockets. But some people have opinions that are different. Always pockets, yes.
No, and I think if it was more like springtime, then it would have to be the jogger type. Mm-hmm. But wintertime, you could wear like boots under.
Yes.
And just some nice warm shoes.
Yes, okay.
Cover that up.
There you go.
Springtime is definitely joggers and tennis shoes. It'd be very comfortable.
Very comfortable. All right. So go-to sweatpants, sweatshirt, t-shirt, jacket. Yes. Comfy. I feel that. Good. Okay. Last one we're going to end on. What is a unique fact about you?
I love to cook, but I'm very dangerous about it. I have only tried to burn our kitchen down a couple times.
Just a couple. That's not bad. Yeah.
Not bad. Let's just say you don't want me to do my lovely food experiments in the kitchen.
Not in your kitchen. We need like an outdoor kitchen.
An outdoor kitchen would be great.
Would be nice.
I mean, our kitchen went from white paint to black very quickly. So there's still some left.
Yes, yes.
I tried painting, but
it stays there. Yeah. Are you gonna tell about the melted butter? Oh gosh. Your dad. So her dad posted on Facebook, and he's like, "Don't let Morgan. Morgan doesn't know the difference between melted butter and softened butter, because it was supposed to be softened.
It was.
Yeah.
And
it definitely was soft.
It was very soft. It was very soft.
Yes.
And I had this stick of butter, and I had my biscuits out there, and I was just gonna soften some butter so I could put some on my biscuits.
Yeah.
And I put it in the microwave. I put 30 seconds because I know that in 15 I will go right in there and I'll just take it right out.
Yeah.
Well, Morgan got distracted like usual, and she left it in there for 30 seconds. And it wasn't like a whole stick of butter. It was maybe 1/3.
Yes.
So
it was really melted.
It was, it was pretty much all gone. And so I had to clean the microwave out. There wasn't much in there. But it worked out perfectly because all I had to do was just pour it on your biscuits.
There you go. Okay. I don't know if you ever, one time, I think I've done it twice, I made mac and cheese, forgot to put the water in it.
Oh, no.
And this was at the youth building at launch. And so I was like 7, and I put my mac and cheese in the microwave without water.
Oh, no.
And sure enough, it burns and melts in the microwave. And so the microwave is smoking, and the smoke detectors are going off, and church starts in doors open in 30 minutes. And so my mom has to unplug the microwave and take it outside. Granted, they use the microwave every Wednesday for mac and cheese or things like that in the snack bar. And so they take the microwave outside, and the microwave was toast. I broke a microwave at church, guys. It's my PK story. But yeah, I burnt that mac and cheese. And I've done it with ramen once too. Went to cook ramen in the microwave and forgot the water. So I'm not a pro cookist at all. You got one up on me. So yeah.
I could make a mean HelloFresh meal.
Oh, there you go. It tells you what to do. Oh yeah. That's all I need.
Step by step on what to do. Fresh ingredients. Not sponsored, but
yes.
Should be.
Should be. HelloFresh, hit us up. No. Also, one more story about us cooking together.
Oh my goodness.
Pancakes.
Okay.
Anytime we have a sleepover, we would make pancakes. I'm talking since we were 7.
Yes.
We would make pancakes.
So for 10 years.
10 years straight.
Going on. And these weren't ordinary.
Oh, no. We don't do ordinary things. Not when we're together.
Oh, no. Never. I mean, even Just Dance and We and everything.
Oh, it's something.
It's something every single time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pancakes, they went crazy.
Yeah. So one time we put cinnamon apples, canned cinnamon apples, in our pancakes. Yeah. We done blueberries.
Chopped them up.
Yeah.
Berries, threw them in there.
Yeah. One time we were gonna do fresh apples, but your dad advised against that, so we didn't. But they never turn out good, ever. And we make so many.
Yeah.
We're talking enough to feed 10 people. Oh, and we make all these pancakes, and we sit down to eat them, and they're nasty. And then we eat 2 bites and then eat something else.
Yeah.
But it never fails. We make pancakes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a story that we need to not share probably. But yeah. So we can't make pancakes. We can't make mac and cheese or softened butter, but we can make a mean HelloFresh meal.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I can make you a shepherd's pie like no other.
There we go. All right. Sorry, you need to know. All right, guys, we are going to end this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I had a great time with Morgan.
Yes, I had
so much fun. So fun. So I should remind you guys that the Lord does miracles today, and we have living proof. He does miracles, and He is so good. So if you're going through a problem, don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep going. Find that friend and family to lean on, and lean on the Lord, because He does amazing things. Amen. All right. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.